All right. Hello again, everyone. We are back for our fourth week of concessions and confessions. Um, yeah. So this week,
Well, who are you?
oh wait, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm Steven.
I'm Lucas.
Yep. I always forget how to like do the intros like every week, but I don't know. Whatever. So
Well, last week we had a couple exciting news that we talked about, or not even like exciting news per se.
what's that? I'm gonna move my.
I'm sorry.
That was for y'all.
Um, so last week I talked about a bunch of stuff that are now lies because last week we talked about the Oscars not broadcasting four categories,
Yep.
and because they're really submissive,
Just switched.
now they are broadcasting them,
Yep.
which is a great news. Like
Yep.
no one liked when they announced it. They
Yeah.
hated it, and the fact that they changed their decision is great. Just like they changed their decision about best popular movie, like that was weird. So like yeah, the Oscars. If you complain, they'll change. So that's a lesson, I
It's
guess.
okay. I kind of feel bad because I okay, in some ways I would have respected it more if they just weren't so flippy floppy on literally everything.
Oh yeah, they're so flippy floppy.
Because it's like they want to do stuff, and even when we don't like it, right? So we're just like no, and they're like, okay, like Apple. I respect one thing that they do. They don't care what you want as a consumer. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and you're gonna like it, and you're still gonna buy it.
I mean, but if they do that, it's like the internet providers in South Park. You remember? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have anyone else to go
Oh
to.
yeah, yeah.
But whatever.
No,
I
but
mean,
it's the
I'm
Oscars.
glad they took it back because I really want to. Well, people who worked hard uh, be credited by being in the broadcast.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they deserve. It's like literally the least you could do. Like,
It's the least you could do, definitely.
I don't know how long the show's gonna be now because the show's already like. Well, typically in the past been like what
It's
two
like
and a
three
half?
hours.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours. I think it's over three,
Yeah.
actually.
And guess what? The exactly the day after we talked about Frozen 2 having no promotional material out, the trailer
Literally the
dropped.
next day,
Literally,
I was so mad. I was like, oh, we're gonna look bad,
we're gonna look bad.
because
We always look bad regardless,
oh
so
yeah, I
no
feel like
worries.
okay. I want to say this, uh, and I'm gonna before I say anything about the trailer, I like movies. I don't hate all movies. I like movies, you know. But this Frozen 2 trailer, right?
Uh-huh.
I want to say one thing about the I guess art style. For whatever reason, they went with the very like photorealistic look of everything that isn't a character, like
Yeah, like the beach.
the
I was like,
water,
this
like
is a picture. Why is
yeah.
there a cartoon in my picture?
She's like glowing too. Like
Yeah,
she looks so out of place, which is so like jarring. Also, I
it's
don't know what
jarring.
she's doing in that trailer. Why are you trying to like run on water?
I'm
You know?
pretty sure since she's in some sort of deserted island, I feel like she's gonna go save Anna based on like Anna seemed to be in some sort of castle. You mentioned the fact that they're introducing different elementals or stuff like that.
Supposedly, like that was the thing I had read that there are going to be other people who are able to use her like elemental abilities.
Yeah.
So I think they're
I
going to be
mean, they're
doing something with
definitely going for
fire,
more action vibe, unlike the other one, which was more of a
musical
cute
probably.
adventure musical.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still gonna be a musical. How could you have Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell? It's Kristen Bell, right?
Is it her? I think you're right.
From The Good Place.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
They're both amazing singers. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a musical as
You
well.
just blew my mind. I did not know it was Kristen Bell. She's the not the ice one. Anna, right?
Yeah, Anna.
Jesus Christ, I can't even believe I didn't know that. But wow, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's also gonna be a musical, just like Mulan was also kind of like actiony. But this is, I mean, it looks intense somehow, and it seems out of place because Frozen
It
was
really
not that
does.
intense. I hope
Yeah,
we
no.
get a good villain. Like I feel like the success of this movie for me is gonna be based on how good the villain is. But we don't know anything about the villain right now.
I feel like it's not gonna be a villain. It's gonna be like we're fighting our feelings or something,
I
or
don't
like
think
there's
so.
like
I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like a tangible evil force. I think
there is a scene in the trailer or a
where she
shot
pulls
where
out
like
a
she's
sword.
like like dual wielding. Oh, she does do that, but like Elsa is like shooting ice at this fire, trying to protect Olaf, which I
Yeah.
thought was like, whoa, he's gonna die.
Well, he's gonna have his dream come true of knowing what summer feels like
Oh
when
yeah.
he gets burned up. But I guess we'll talk about Frozen 2 when that movie is actually released.
Yes.
I guess another like upcoming movie that like I'm getting so many notifications on is Denis Villeneuve's new Dune movie, which is going to be a two-parter. The release of the first part is already confirmed for November 2020, and this is such a star-studded cast. Like, I know
Just
that
keeps
word
growing.
gets thrown around a lot, but here you got Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Dave Bautista, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa was just confirmed last week as Duncan Idaho, who is the secret, not protagonist of the story, but he's the one character in all the Dune books. I read the first book. Uh, I liked it, which is going to be interesting because it's a book that all the exciting stuff is inner monologues. Like it's like a lot of like I know that you know that I know that you know, and that's why I'm gonna do this to throw you off. So everything is like just like mind games.
Yeah.
Like so much of the story actually happens inside everyone's heads, and like the fight scenes are really just. I mean, the way they're written, they're not that exciting per se.
Oh,
But I mean, Denis Villeneuve has a really good track record.
I have very, very high expectations for this movie. I don't know anything about the script or the books or anything, but or the previous movie that they made, but God, if it's anything like anything he's ever done, or anything that I've ever seen, let's put it like that, it has to be good. It's just
Sure.
there's
I
no
mean,
way.
if we follow that track record, be good. It's not gonna make money in the box office.
Yeah,
But I mean,
that's sad.
people go watch this movie. I mean, it's
Also,
got a
go
great
buy Blade
cast.
Runner, okay? Buy Blade Runner.
Wait, 2049.
2049, yeah, not the other one, because I don't like
That's a
the
hot
original.
take, but one I stand by
Oh,
firmly.
I never got the hype. Like, even before I saw 2049, I was like, what is this movie that everyone loves? Like, whatever. Blade Runner 2049, please buy it. Support Denny. Go to Denny's also. They're they're losing
We're
the
not
war.
sponsored by Denny's
We're not
in
sponsored.
any way. Uh, but all right, I guess that's enough for the news
Yep.
today. Let's talk about High Flying Bird, which
High
is the
Flying Bird.
directed by Steven Soderbergh, a
Yep.
Netflix original movie.
He also shot it.
Really?
He shoots all his movies apparently since 2008 under a pseudonym. I forget what it. I think it's like Alex something. But he shot it also. He shot
He
Unsane.
held the iPhone the entire time.
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
this movie, the
it's
way
cool.
like a lot of people may not know, it was actually shot on an iPhone 8 with a lens mod. Like it has
Yeah.
an added lens.
I'm wondering if they do you think they shot in 4K and just like cropped out to have like a wide effect, like a
That's
widescreen?
likely. I think
Because
so.
yeah, I will say the movie does get a little bit more. It feels cinematic in that it's like wide, like it looks like a 70 millimeter. Like
I guess talking about what we think about this movie, the wide angle lens, it didn't really do it for me. I don't like fisheye lenses.
they don't do it that much.
I thought they did.
Oh
Like
wait,
everything looked distorted.
wait.
Like
How big did you watch it? Like what did you watch it on?
like a 48-inch screen
Okay, I watched it on a 22-inch monitor, and I saw Unsane, his previous movie shot on an iPhone
on
at
theaters, right?
yeah in a theater, and I think the bigger the screen you get, the more warped the image looked. Because when I was watching it on my monitor, I couldn't really tell.
No,
Like
the here was like
yeah,
really obvious. Like every single background, it was
yeah,
really curved. So that to me, it was an aesthetic I really couldn't get behind.
yeah,
But I guess we can talk about. Oh well, while we start talking about technicalities,
yeah.
I really liked the first scene because they
I
employ
know, right? Yeah,
like they really employ some weird and
yeah,
they break the 180 rule.
yeah.
Like I was like, whoa, this is actually trying to like challenge conventions of cinema. Like they use a bunch of angles that reminded me of anime, to be honest.
A little
Like,
bit, yeah.
and so
The dialogue in that first scene was really good too. Like it was just
yeah,
instantly engaging.
definitely. It felt like a Sorkin movie
Hmm.
ish, but like here's my thing. To me, the rest of the movie, the entire story is told through the dialogue and not the
Yeah.
visuals, and that to me is a big factor. Like I'm a dumb person. I like not having to pay like utmost attention to the dialogue and
Yeah.
be able to follow along the story just through strong visuals. I don't think the visuals ever got back to the level of that first scene. And the only other moment where no dialogue was needed in order to tell the story, like the story was completely visual or like just conveyed through the images because there was dialogue, is when Jamero and Eric meet at the basketball court, and everyone's like making a circle around them, and like Jamero has his
Yeah.
mom, and like they go back and forth banter. Like that needed no dialogue, and it was still visual storytelling.
Yeah.
But everything else, just the entire story is delivered through dialogue, and I'm not particularly the biggest fans of those types of movies.
Yeah.
Like Spotlight is a movie I really couldn't get behind because
Oh.
if you mute that movie, you don't know what this movie is about. It's just a bunch of
Yeah.
conversations. Uh, I'm really a visual guy.
I'm really glad you said that though,
Sure.
because I was feeling that the entire time. And honestly, this movie is kind of a dip from visual storytelling from Unsane, in
Okay.
my opinion. Because
I haven't
Unsane,
seen Unsane.
you should watch Unsane. It's pretty solid until literally the last 5 minutes. There's like a, this is a spoiler alert. That there's like a scene where it says like 5 months later. Just if you get to that, just don't watch it. Just leave before that. I promise it makes the movie worse.
Yeah.
But visually, that movie, I felt it worked for more for a thriller, with the types of like angles and things that they used and everything. Like, it just felt better than this movie. I felt so confused because I was having to like listen to them, like really listen, and I had to come up to my like my speaker and turn up my volume because
I had subtitles on.
I see I hate watching movies with subtitles, like English movies, like specifically, or like things spoken English. I just hate listening or like reading.
But I guess
Oh, sorry.
people who have not seen this movie really don't know what we're talking about. So this movie is about the NBA drafts. I want to say.
Okay, no, no.
I'm
Okay,
really ignorant
I know
about
what
this
it's
subject matter.
about.
So you are a sports geek.
Yeah,
So you know everything about sports. What's this movie
100%.
about? Explain to me because I'm not sure.
Okay, so in the NBA, or I guess any league, there can be these things called lockouts, which essentially means there's no games. The season should be going. The players, like the Players Association and the league, and all the owners in the front offices, they're not agreeing on terms as far as either pay or something. Like there's something wrong, so there's nobody playing. So the movie starts off, and basically I think the whole movie for the rest until like most of it, I want to say there's a lockout. So our main character is an agent of the first pick from the draft of the previous draft, and basically he's just trying to find a way to get that guy money, I guess, and sort of work the system a little bit and like tilt the favors of power between the league and like him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I felt the movie didn't really do a great job. Because I was confused as to what our character was doing, like, or why he was doing what he was doing. But yeah, basically,
And I mean
players
that
aren't
because
playing.
I don't follow
Yeah,
much of any sports
yeah,
or like how the associations play off of one another and the agencies and all that stuff.
yeah.
Like I wasn't really clear on what was going on. Not even with the interviews that they put like during
Those are interesting because those are all,
real
except for one of
players.
them. I don't know what. Like two of them, they had Carl Anthony Towns and Donovan Mitchell, and the other one, his name is Reggie. I can't remember his name. He used to play for Oklahoma City, and then they traded him to the Pistons. But I don't remember his name. But he's not like. I think the reason why they got him, I think, is he was drafted in a lockout year.
Ah,
So similarly, I think his situation was like the main characters, in real life, which is
hmm
sad because,
yeah.
um, so the main character, or not the like the
So
main character,
so
one of them.
okay. A lockout is
Yeah,
basically like a government shutdown,
yeah,
but for sports.
yeah.
That's the
So
easy
yeah,
way to
they're
understand it.
they're
Cool.
going to they're negotiating terms between the networks who have the TV deals, the Players Association who wants more like share of the pay, and the owners who are also wanting to keep their level of pay or get more from the networks. But basically, like a lockout could happen for a number of reasons. And this movie they have one. They don't really explain why, but I don't know. the movie though, I felt I was kind of confused
Sure.
for most of it. Like,
Well, yeah, you had to pay like a lot of attention
yeah.
to the dialogue in order to get the entire story. Uh, so there's not a lot of subtlety. Like it was good dialogue, I would say,
Oh yeah,
but
no, yeah, I thought so, but
and really good performances too. Really subdued, really subtle.
yeah.
Uh,
Our main basketball player, like the
Eric,
he's Eric, like
yeah,
he's in Netflix's what is that show called? American Vandal season 2. He is great. And interestingly, there's another great scene in American Vandal season 2 in a car where he's like I don't know why this guy has really good scenes in cars, but him and Zazie Beats I don't know
sassy. I don't know.
Zazie, her she's also great in this movie. She's pretty solid in everything I've seen her in.
Yeah,
And the one thing I think that like this movie hurts her and everybody else's performances is there's not a lot of close-ups. There's some really like
it's really
long
mediums.
shots. Like
Yeah, like most of the movies, just mediums
yeah,
and full shots.
which is crazy because like in Unsane, there's these crazy like close-ups where the camera was in an actor's face and it was just like it was so weird because it made the thrillingness of that movie just heightened it. And this one we got like barely any of it. The first scene had them like it had like medium close-ups and things like
Yeah, it
that.
was getting closer and
Yeah,
closer, and then it employed some like really weird angles. I
yeah,
thought that was first scene I was like sold on,
yeah.
and even the like what I love about that scene is how our main character, whose name I forgot, like he seemed to be so chill and in total
I also
power,
forgot his
and
name.
when he's paying the check at the restaurant, and it's like, oh, your card was bounced back.
Yeah,
It's like, ooh, you're not as cool as you thought you were. Like I don't know, that was just like such a beautiful
yeah.
way to end a scene. But I don't think I ever got that level of hype again throughout the rest of the movie. Everything was just like really subtle, uh, and it was a story that was kind of hard to follow because well, not until now do I understand that a lockout, like what it is and how it works, and the movie really doesn't do justice. And well, I guess
Yeah,
it doesn't treat you like an idiot in the fact that it's not spoon feeding you everything, but it's really it's starving you basically. It doesn't give you anything to work with. I mean,
yeah.
in terms of backstory and how sports work, basically.
There's a really interesting like aspect they use, which I don't know. You're probably not familiar with the name of the show, but there's a sports show that they watch. There's like a little TV in an elevator. It's called Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. It's a really good show, but basically like this, they use that like talk show or the show as like a mode of like exposition to like like I guess like between scenes you'll like have someone watching it and they'll be explaining what happened or something like that or like
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really lazy like and it makes me mad because I thought or like not I thought I'm a big fan of that show actually
Okay.
and for them to use it the way they did it was kind of lame. I was hoping they would sort of incorporate it into like they would have one of our stars go on the show or like one of the basketball players or something like that like anything that have more integration with the actual storyline as opposed to them just reporting like the news
Uh huh.
and it was kind of because I know that show and they'll bring players on like when controversy is happening and they'll talk to them about it and it's super interesting like it's great TV but we get none of that from this movie and like knowing that in real life that they do that and then watching them in the movie I was like this is just wasted and then I want to ask you a question
Sure.
how did you feel about the interviews like the black and white player
I
interviews
because I had no connection to like I assumed they were real players. I didn't look it up.
they are
Uh, I was just like, okay, cool. I guess it's thematically connected to what's going on. Like I understood that Eric
it's
was the first.
technically connected, right?
Uh huh.
I felt like it was more like of a documentary about how to be a new NBA player than anything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you
yeah.
put it all together, you could have like cut it together, and that's what it would have been about, like with
Sure.
just their stuff. But I felt to the movie's not really about that.
No.
So
No, that's why I thought lockouts happen only during the first draft or whatever, because basically the interviews were all about drafts and your first game and being a rookie. And I mean, granted, Eric and Carmelo, I think that was the name of the other character, uh,
Beats
they're
me.
the rookies basically,
Yeah.
and they're like high profile rookies.
Yeah. Number
So
one overall pick. They both play for the same. There was very interesting like sort of drama between these two players that they don't even really they kind of get there, but then they just backpedal away from it. Like
mhm.
they talk about having like a deal with Netflix to have a live stream one on one between these two players, and
And then never goes
they never do
anywhere.
it. And like the whole point, like the movie, I guess the whole point of the agent doing that
Hmm.
like was just so the fact that the NBA would I guess start up again.
Yeah, like it turns out that from the get go, like it seems like things are getting out of hand, but it was really the agent's planned all
Which I
along.
hate. I hate when that happens. Like it's like, oh, it's crazy, but it's my plan.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because I bought it. Like the actor portraying him, I don't know his name, but he really sold it. Like
Oh, he's great.
the
Yeah,
fact that he's like playing 5 dimensional chess or whatever,
yeah.
and like he knew everything was going on. Like I bought it, and that's why when it was revealed that this was his plan all along, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Sad thing is I didn't really understand
Yeah.
what the plan
So wait, his
consisted of.
was his plan to his plan was to get that guy's job though, right? Like his boss's
Yeah,
job.
as well, because he's gonna get mad street cred when everyone finds out that he like basically it was him who got rid
Like
of the lockout.
because his deal with Netflix
That was
scared
just a
the
ruse.
like it
Yeah,
scared but it scared like the investors or the NBA or something like that like
yeah.
into signing a deal with the TV networks to get the contract to get the league
It was
going again.
complicated.
It's very complicated and it kind of happens really quickly
Oh yeah,
and
that's the thing. Well, it's an hour and 30 minute movie.
yes.
The fact
Yeah.
that it's so dialogue heavy makes it feel longer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, I thought it was really good dialogue and really good performances, but it's not really what I look for in a movie. Like to me, the story is the soul of a movie, and like the visual storytelling and the fact that I didn't really understand the context and setting and the world that the entire movie took place in. Like I was really kind of, it was like an onlooker who really didn't have
That's how
much to say.
I was trying to think about like if this movie was shot more traditionally, like with the different like regular like a Red or a freaking Alexa or something like that or whatever. You know, like something super expensive. Would I be able to
I don't.
like connect more with it
I don't think
visually?
so.
See,
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
either because I read the article about this movie and basically Steven Soderbergh was saying how like the shots you see in this movie are basically only capable or like you're only able to do it because of the small phone, like the
Yeah.
form factor and everything. So like he's
Well, there were some really cool dolly shots that
there.
I
What
liked.
that was just him on like a
Yeah.
wheelchair with a $200 gimbal.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean, props to him. Like, my thing is, like, you're seeing Soderbergh. You can probably buy a really cool camera or whatever. Like
does
a
it actually
Rebel.
save them money?
I don't know. I feel like he just wants to prove a point, uh, which is exciting, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm more of a. I don't know.
he's kind of like a naturalist, or like he likes like
Oh
the
yeah, okay.
imperfections of movies.
One technical thing that we didn't talk about was like the really naturalistic use of lighting and
Yeah,
how a lot of the time they be like the camera would not like the well there were some really hard shadows.
and there's a lot of sometimes things are blown out, like with the whites.
Yeah.
Like and
Oh
some of the windows are really blown out.
yeah.
It's just it's what happens when you shoot on a phone, and like I think they did a really good job in certain scenes with controlling lighting. There's a scene in a bar,
Hmm.
and it's like there's like gold lighting, and like you know it looks really good for the most part, and I think they did it basically as good as they could. But sometimes it was just like it was kind of distracting because I couldn't see the like expression of the actor's face if they like walk past like a blown out window. It was more like a silhouette than anything. And also speaking of like imperfections or whatever, there's times where like I don't know if there people were meant to see it or like if that's how it was meant to be, but some of the actors look directly into the camera lens. Like there's one time
Yeah.
when Zazie or Zazie Beats looks right at the camera, but the only reason why I'm not sure if that was supposed to happen is because where she's looking is where the guy is, but it's just weird to have the like the line be right into the
Yeah.
camera. So, and it happened a couple of times too.
I don't know if your monitor you were able to see that a lot of times, especially in exterior shots, you could see motion blur around the actors' bodies. Like I
Really?
was able to see that. And it was so distracting. It was like, oh, it's like aura around the actor's body. It was weird. It
I
was
I could see that. I think in when I saw Unsane in a theater,
uh
that was such a weird experience though. Watching that movie in like an actual theater because when that movie came out, I remember also reading another article where Steven Soderbergh was like, "It's 4K, it scales like perfectly," and I was like,
nah.
"Does it?" Like, because I don't know if it's the scaling it up, like, or if it's the fact that like the lenses they were using on them like warped the edges of the image,
Mhm.
but like I feel like the bigger screen you watch it on, it would just look more and more jarring. But
Yo,
this movie isn't bad though, right? Like, did you like?
I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't know who I would recommend this to because it's like, okay, you gotta be a diehard, like, entertainment sports fan who knows everything about how the leagues and the associations work. Like, that's the thing. It's such a kind of complicated plot to follow, and the fact that this is
Yeah,
so reliant on dialogue makes it kind of a not boring watch, but it's not a
yeah.
movie that you can easily recommend because it's like it's not gonna be that entertaining. Like I feel like the people who get the most passionate out of it are the ones who understand how a lockout happens and get the kicks out of like how they manage to get out of the lockout because that's the entire movie. So
Yeah,
it's a complicated recommendation.
I,
Like I don't think I could recommend it to a lot of my friends, especially the ones that don't care about the fact that it's shot on an iPhone or the technicalities or dialogue. Like oh, people don't care about dialogue. Most of the time, I don't.
I think if yeah, I mean, I think if you like the director and you're a fan of his
Well,
work, I
it's
would watch
niche.
it. Cause, but I like a lot of the stuff he's done. It's just this one is so weird because it feels like I think this would actually benefit it in like maybe 20 more minutes of time or 15 because like there's some parts in this movie that move too quickly or like there's not enough like I feel like we just missed like one scene of like our main character like on the phone or something or like doing like emails or something or like we missed like one scene of him just like
I thought part of
scheming.
the charm of this movie is how fast it moved.
It was just but it was too quick for me personally. Like I think that was also part of the part where I had to like really listen to the audio. It was just like with the dialogue of it. I just didn't know what was going on and I didn't know certain things are happening when. But like, I guess if I was gonna recommend this to anybody, it would be people who watch Netflix movies. Like if you're at home and you want a Netflix movie to watch, and it's you don't really have anything else to do. I mean, this was good. I mean, it was there are worse ways to spend an hour and a half. Like truly, that's not like a bad thing to say. Like I'm not trying to dog this movie, but like it's worth a watch if you have nothing else to watch. It's not a bad movie, but I don't think this movie.
It's worth getting out of your way to watch.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad, but like I never would have
I don't
watched
think
it
it's
if it wasn't
bad
for this
either, but it's
podcast.
just like there's probably nothing of value for the common Netflix user
Yeah,
because it's artsy and but not really. It's weird. It's in such a gray area.
yeah,
I mean, watch it on your this discretion.
yeah. I mean, it'd probably honestly be best watched on a phone. I'm honestly
Yeah,
might go back and watch some of this movie on a phone just to see if it like looks like I would just
the,
recorded it myself
the
or
way
something.
Quadon intended his movies to be watched.
Oh yes, on a phone. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good stopping off point for that. But so now I guess we're gonna move on to our I watch you watch segment of the show.
That's right.
Last week I asked you to watch the Amazon Prime original Jack
And I asked you to watch the Hulu original *Handmaid's Tale*.
Ryan. Yes.
So
Um,
I usually start. Should we keep that tradition of me starting this segment?
yeah, if you want to.
Okay. So Jack Ryan, I watched the first two episodes. The pilot, it's an hour and 7 minutes long, and I think the rest of the season is like 45 minutes,
Okay.
like more like a standard TV show. And I'm gonna say, like, I also noticed with Grace and Frankie and The Punisher, when a when a series like when they extend the usual runtime a format. Like if a half-hour comedy, which they usually clock in at about 22 or 24 minutes, like they go over 30 minutes, like to me starts dragging.
Hmm.
Like same thing with the Punisher. Like well, an hour long is usually 45 minutes. The Punisher was like an hour and something, maybe 59 minutes, but like it was really close to the exactly hour mark. It drags. Like for me, it's like okay, like I will say during the pilot, I was constantly checking how much more runtime this series had.
That's never a
Uh,
good sign.
but it's not because it's bad. Like the thing is, like I did enjoy it, uh, but the pilot, like I did feel like they should have condensed it to 44 minutes. And then when I watched the second episode, which was in fact 44 minutes, I was like, oh, there you go. Like I don't know, like those extra 15 minutes, like they do make a difference in my opinion.
No, I completely agree.
You agree? Yeah.
Completely, because it's just it's. I think it's something that sometimes when I was watching like House of Cards a lot, like on Netflix, it did drag. And
Is
same
it?
thing with like Daredevil. There's times when you're just like, can this please be over?
Yeah, well, and the pilot particularly. So this show, as of right now, it does have a bit of a formula between the two episodes. Like, okay, there's a plot with Jack Ryan in the States, and then so right now the main force of antagonism is I want to say terrorists in the Middle East. But there are it's like kind of new, so like they seem to be more organized, and
Is it like
they
a
do mention.
fictionalized version, or is this like completely fictional world?
No, it's the real world, and like they do talk about ISIS and Bin Laden and 9/11. They drop like like Jack Ryan says 9/11 in both episodes like numerous times. Uh,
What?
yeah. He says like he so he is a financial tracker at the CIA.
Mhm.
Actually, this is my introduction to the Jack Ryan stories. I have never seen like the Alec Baldwin movie or the Harrison Ford movies or Ben Affleck or Chris Pine. This is actually the first time I see any Jack Ryan related thing. Um, so there's the stuff with Jack Ryan and the CIA and whatever the terrorists are doing. Uh, and in both episodes, Jack Ryan and his boss they end up going abroad
Mhm.
and they're doing something. In the first episode, they go to Yemen, and the second episode, they go to Paris. Um, and I'm gonna say I like the characters right now. I hope they never state it out loud because right now, like Jack Ryan and his boss Greer, they really don't get along. Like they kind of hate each other's guts, but they're much more similar than they like to admit. Like you can notice that because they both
Ooh.
have like a backstory that's like kind of not tragic but like haunting them, and the way they get things done and the way they do things and how they sometimes go over the rules in order to achieve stuff. Like they're much more similar than they like to admit, and they know that they need each other if they actually want to be successful in their mission. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of relationship I like most. Like they're reluctant partners, if that makes any sense to you.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and like I really hope they never said, you know, Jack, you and I are much more similar than we let on.
I
Like
think they'll say it at some point.
I hope not because right now it's really subdued. Um, and I want to say I think right now my favorite character's gotta be the main baddie. Some really interesting stuff is going on with him. Makes him compelling, at
Mhm.
least for me. Honestly, so the opening images of the show,
Yeah.
they're really striking and invoking. And honestly, what I really liked about the pilot is that they bring back, like they do like a throwback to the opening images.
Hmm.
Like I want to keep it spoiler free, kind of for you and the audiences listening. But the thing is, some of the final images you see before the pilot ends is like, oh, that's like really emotionally striking. I thought, and so like just through pure visual storytelling, they managed to make me compelled with the antagonist. Uh, and I kind of want to keep watching to see if they ever do that again.
Yeah.
Like right now, there's like his family life and a lot of other stuff happening with the antagonist. but if like my hopes is that they reach those like emotional levels that are like really just like visual and guttural kind of. Another thing I really liked about the pilot was the fact that Jack Ryan and the antagonist actually do meet. So in some
Oh,
way,
that's pretty cool.
it's personal because they actually interacted with each other and they made an impression on each other. Um, so the fact that well, Jack Ryan is most definitely going to be getting in the antagonist's way. His name is Suleiman, or like his code name as a
Okay.
terrorist. Um, like they know they're gonna be each other's biggest obstacle, you know.
I
So
kind of
like,
like that. Like
yeah,
they
I like
already
that. Like
yeah
they are aware of each other's existence and they've met in person.
yeah.
So the fact that they got a connection per se because they met, I like that as well. The music, nothing like really remarkable. There was like one kind of like guitar heavy song that reminded me of the like some Death Note soundtrack, like or some Pink Floyd tracks that
Okay.
like they have a really repetitive delay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it reminded me of some stuff, but like nothing too original. And then the action. Okay, let's get to the action. This is an action show, right?
Yes.
You don't get to the action until the last act of both episodes so far.
Interesting.
Like
Okay.
everything else is kind of procedural
Yeah.
ish. Not really. And I'm gonna say like everything that happens at the CIA offices, they're really boring in my opinion. But the action. Okay, we don't have like big a lot of guns, a lot of artillery, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not like Saving Private Ryan, which is like it's that intense. The thing like I was thinking when I was watching this is like, oh, this is just like generic action movie, uh, you know, shootouts. But here's the thing, I remember that this is not a movie. This is a TV show. Like for it to look that good, like I don't know if it's worth comparing it by that standard. The fact that it's a TV show, like
Yeah.
it's a lot of shaky cam and like cutting with each punch or shot. Like there's a lot of rapid cutting and shaky cam. Like it looks like a movie,
Hmm.
but like just not one of my kind of action movies. Like I'm more of a John Wick or Hong Kong action
Yeah.
movie
It's
guy.
so it's typically like it definitely favors like Western,
Yeah,
like which
action.
is like early 90s like
No,
cutting,
I mean
not
no,
egregious.
2000s.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely. Like lot of shaky cam, lot of rapid editing.
Yeah.
Like you never see someone actually punch each other. Like they cut with every punch or
I-
kick.
In a weird way, I kind of appreciate that. Like, just sticking with that style almost.
Sure, yeah, yeah,
But
like but it looks like a movie. Like I never feel like I'm watching like not to bring down any people who work on TV because TV has come a long way. Well, not TV, but like series, like TV. Well, series, I guess, with streaming and all. Like it never looked cheap. You know?
I see. I really
Ki-
can appreciate that because watching like, okay, so to bring back Velvet Buzzsaw. Like, I watched parts of it again. I was just like,
This is a TV movie.
it looks like a TV movie, and like I think there's times when I'm watching like Game of Thrones or something, or even like going back to like Breaking Bad or whatever. Like things just look way better.
Well, this reminded me of a like Born Identity kind of action. I mean, not that, but you
Oh,
know what I mean, right?
yeah.
Like, or like 2000 Stallone or Schwarzenegger movies. Like I have never seen The Expendables, but I feel like the action in those movies, like everything that's not really
They're
exaggerated,
okay.
like the stuff that's like grounded in reality, that's what this show looks and feels like.
Can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
John Krasinski as our leading man. Do you like him?
It's distracting because like he's a Boy Scout. Like Jack Ryan is supposed to be a Boy Scout, and I guess John Krasinski kind of fits that model. But like his face is so The Office.
I just
So
can't get it away from like because even when I was watching A Quiet Place, I was just thinking of The Office so much.
yeah,
And
and that's the problem with like Daniel Radcliffe. A lot of the time, like you're just
see, I'm
thinking Harry
lucky. I
Potter.
never got to watch Harry Potter because my mom said it was evil. So never got to watch it. So I've never associated it with like I know he's Harry Potter, but since I haven't like been through those like I don't know 10 plus hours of movies,
Yeah.
never I don't have any like real connection to that. So, but I have seen all of The Office, and that was one of my major like things I was worried about watching him in this, because seeing him in like a serious thing has always sort of kind of thrown me off. Because he
Sure.
did another movie called it was it was about Benghazi, and it was directed by Michael Bay, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
I can't remember the name of it exactly, but I think it was like 7 hours or something like that, or I don't know. But he was in that, and I know someone who saw it, and they said that they cried, and I was like, dang, that seems like a pretty like good recommendation, like how emotionally powerful that movie was. But I don't think I was ready to see Jim not be Jim,
Uh huh.
And do you think if you keep watching it you will forget about it, or
Probably. I mean, I'm not constantly thinking, oh, it's Jim, but like sometimes they're setting up a romantic plot line, which at this moment I feel is completely unnecessary to the rest of the plot.
yeah.
But he's like, I mean, the woman is pretty and all that stuff. But like his techniques of hitting on her, like they're pretty Jim esque from The Office.
Oh.
Like I don't know, I get the same vibes ish. It's not like she doesn't work with him, so he actually goes out of his way to uh,
uh
contact her. I don't know.
cool.
Like right now the romance seems completely unnecessary. Some of his I liked one interaction in episode 2 with one of his office coworkers because she was like, "I need some advice," and like he says like, "Oh yeah, you should ask that person you're always looking at as." It's like I'm not asking for that sort of advice. I'm like trying to figure out like some fantasy football. Who should I pick for this week? And I was like, oh, like I don't know, made her kind of I don't know, like feel like a real person. Like that scene literally was just there in order for her to feel human and not just a background character. So I
It's okay.
appreciated it. Was it necessary? Probably not, unless she
Yeah,
becomes relevant later on.
which she
Uh,
might, you never
but she
know.
might, she might. Oh, and also comparing this to Punisher, which I watched last year. Jack
Weak.
Ryan's PTSD way better than Frank's in the
Really?
Punisher. Oh yeah, like I don't know. I just hated Frank being such a I don't know brooding, suffering character. Like Jack Ryan clearly has some load on his back, but he's still enjoyable to watch and not just an edge lord.
That's interesting.
So would
Do you
I
think I'd like it? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I'm probably gonna keep on watching, like really casually. I'm not completely in love with it. Like if the action was more reminiscent of like I don't know Hong Kong heist movies, which I really like, or even Korean action movies are really good. I'll probably be like completely sold in this series, but like I mean, uh, this is not a lot of hand to hand combat. It's just like shooting and tactical ops. Uh, I'm probably gonna keep on watching mainly for the relationship between Jack Ryan and his boss
Yeah. And the
and the
villain? Yeah.
antagonists. Like those are the elements that I think I enjoy most. And I mean that's great. Like we got your protagonist and his ally and the antagonists and all of his people surrounding him. Like honestly, like if the characters I found compelling enough to keep on watching, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend it to people who like action movies, but they like the format of a series. And I know there's a lot of people who are John Krasinski fans. They're probably gonna enjoy this as well.
Oh, I hope so. I'll probably be checking it out soon. But after I finish our next segment, or next, not segment, next part of this segment, where I talk about The Handmaid's Tale.
How was that, Steven?
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so I've heard about this show for the last couple years,
Me too.
and just for whatever reason, never got around to it. I always felt like, for whatever reason, like watching something on Hulu that was original kind of felt weird in a weird way. But I was so wrong. This show is very good in the first two episodes. Like, I'm thoroughly interested and I want to keep watching. Um, Everything about it's just so well made. Like the color palettes, like the costumes, like everything. It just looks so good. like I feel like Hulu was like, all right, this is it. Like this
This
is
is
gonna
it.
like yeah, we're gonna put literally everything we got. We're gonna get like the top, like the best people. We're like it's this has to be well made, well written, well acted. Like everything has to be on point, you know. And I think they did a really, really, really good job, like just doing that. But at least by these first two episodes, I'm blown away by like the production value of the show, like everything. Like there's a lot of really, really, really good stuff. And I think one thing that I really like a lot is if you're a fan of like tension or like sort of just feeling uneasy while watching something. This show does a great job of that. It is hard to watch at times. I feel like it's things are weird. There's a weird thing I feel like the show gives you sort of like it's like an effect that it has on you where you're afraid to like talk I guess freely like
Oh wow.
the you they don't really like do anything like to say that you can't speak freely, but nobody really does. And they have these they talk about these people called the eyes, and we still don't really know what they are. But like I'm assuming they're just like they keep everything in check and whatever. And like the show, like you get this weird sense like at any moment a character could be just taken out because of something they say, like just like a minor slip up, or if they like have a glance at a character who's like in like a more prominent position than they are. Um, it just makes you feel very like worried for somebody, especially and like I think you like the main character. Like I like her right
Okay.
now. There's an interesting thing. I don't know if you're a fan of voiceover, but it's not even like it's really it's voiceover, but it's like internal monologue in real time as the show's happening.
What's the name of the author of the original book?
No idea. I know they say
She's
it.
really famous, but I saw an adaptation of one of her works, but it was a Netflix adaptation, and I hated it. It was called
Oh,
Alias Grace. It was so much voiceover, and I thought that was one of the worst aspects of that show. But I thought it was poorly done.
this is not though.
This is not okay.
I everything she said, I genuinely like, and like the lead's voice is really good.
Margaret Atwood. That's the name
Yeah.
of the author.
Oh,
I
okay.
just remember. Or Atlee. I'm probably gonna get it wrong, but her first name is Margaret.
Margaret. Well, I don't know if how closely this show like follows the book like
Yeah. No, talk about the show
oh no,
itself,
but
but it's
like
just like
all I know is like the script and like everything I've heard is so good, and there's so many good moments in these first two episodes, and
mhm.
there's like I guess the basic story is the birth rate fell in the world. As far as I can tell, the world I don't know about if it's just America, but uh, people stop being able or like women stop being able to have children, and I think it's like something where it was like they give you numbers, but I forget. It was like I think 1 in 5 are able to have a kid or something like that. So like 20% of the population can have a child, and
That's like
then
20%.
yeah,
One
no,
in five.
20%, and then I think they said of that, like um for the to have a healthy kid, I think it's 20% of that. It's like for the child to be born with nothing wrong with them.
It's like a 30-second, I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's really like the chances of having like a healthy child are very slim, and it's basically I don't know. There's a war going on. They haven't really talked much about it, but like I'm assuming that had something to do with like the way the state of the world is right now. That's my biggest issue. Um, but also it's kind of intriguing is because they're very vague so far as to what's happening like or like what happened like we know that the world is like it is now and then you see some flashbacks to the past, but the bridge has not been like we haven't crossed it to where we know what happened yet in the first two episodes, and I didn't really expect it to, and I'm kind of happy that they didn't because I feel like that's better storytelling.
Hmm.
um but I am like very confused to see how like things went so wrong so quickly.
Oh wow.
Because it happens. I feel like in a very short time period between like the world is normal, like normal, like in sense that we're not like we don't have handmaids yet,
Hmm.
who are just like oh basically I don't know if you know what a handmaid is.
I don't know.
Okay, this is kind of I don't think it's a spoiler. I think it's you
Say it.
know well basically so the I'll just give you the plot of like
Yeah, because
the Handmaid.
like right
So
now it sounds like it's all backstory what you're telling me, but I don't know
yeah.
what the actual story is.
Okay, so like these handmaids, they are the ones who can have a kid. They can still like be pregnant and like because people can't have kids anymore. So these people were like singled out and they wear these red clothing, like these red stuff. They were like apparently red tagged, um, and they don't really tell you what that means. But basically, these people can have children, and if you're a wealthy man or you're powerful, you can have like a handmaid or a multiple handmaids, depending on how rich you are. And basically, they have sex with them.
In
Like,
order to have
yeah,
children,
to have
offspring.
children. And
Brutal.
yeah, it's really cold, and you see some sex scenes, and
Upsetting.
it's so yeah, it's so weird and it's detached. Like it's like people are going through the motions, but like just worse. Like it's just it's it's upsetting to watch, and it's so sad because you feel bad for the character because she's just it's just happening, and it's not even like it's sexual. It's literally just like it's for like,
Procreation.
but it's so weird because I don't like I get the value for procreation, but that's the real thing I'm looking forward to is like seeing why doing it this way like taking women and being like you are now like essentially just like she says at one point I think we're just like wombs with legs,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was a great line, but like they just I'm very, very worried that it's not going to be like sort of believable in this world. So that's my biggest, I would say, like thing I'm worried about. But so far, the first two episodes are great. The acting is great. Like there's interesting like things happening. The world is very well like filled. Like all the I think scenes have like appropriate like level of extras.
Uh huh.
So like the scale feels right. Like this show just feels very very well made, and it's like for every little detail. I think the first shot of the show you see is her in like a window, like sitting in a window like frame or like near a window or looking out a window, and it's just a beautiful shot. Like I'm just amazed by it. Like the way the show looks. Like you're talking about how like Jack Ryan didn't like it did really good for a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
This show too, like oh my god, like show's
What
killing
would you
it.
compare the visual aesthetic to? Like, what is it closest to?
Oh man,
Like in terms of like visuals, colors, editing, shot composition. Like, could you think of anything that looks kind of similar, or like just like a pastiche? Like, could you combine the editing of this thing with the colors of that thing? Like, can you think of an example of like what other stuff does this look like?
I would say well just because of like the costumes or like the actual like outfit the handmaids wear. I'd say the only real like reference I think I have to this is M Night Shyamalan's The
The hat,
Village
the
or whatever.
village. Ugh,
It's like costume wise, not
okay.
like in terms of quality, it's way better. But like, I don't know
No, no, like just the visuals themselves. Like,
the visuals. God, maybe The Leftovers. If you've ever seen The Leftovers on HBO,
okay, yeah.
that's a very interesting show. Visually, it's that show looks so good. Like I'm not a huge fan of The Leftovers because of the ending. That's another story for a different time, and I've gotten into a lot of arguments about that show specifically with people. But it's a very well made show. Also, like, I would say like probably in terms of like that's probably a really good comparison in terms of quality
Okay,
of television making or filmmaking is that show.
sure.
Um, I don't know if I can say anything on Netflix I've seen really is like that. I would say maybe like in terms of quality again, like House of Cards. House of Cards. I haven't seen the last season, but and I know everything with
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Spacey is unfortunate, but like the first 5 seasons are incredible and they're really well made and like I think this is the show for Hulu. Like this is their
This,
House of
okay,
Cards.
okay,
So like
okay.
I don't know.
Hypothetical scenario. Imagine you're not interested in anything else that Hulu has on their platform, Is this show alone worth the subscription to Hulu?
I'm gonna say yes, and then
Okay.
after you finish it,
Watch
just
King of
delete.
the Hill.
Or I love King of the Hill. Like, oh my god. But I would say like for me, that's what House of Cards was because I think we got like a 1 month, and I watched the first 2 seasons or something like that, and I was just like, I couldn't believe. I was like, oh my god, I didn't know TV could be this good. And like Hulu, I think is not even as expensive as Netflix is, like base pay. I think it's like
I think they're about the same if
well,
you
cause
want to have ad-free Hulu.
I think yeah, I have ads for if you don't have ads, I think or if you do have ads, I think it's like $10, and I think Netflix is like 12 or something like that or thirteen
Yeah, but
dollars
no
now.
no ads, and if you
Highly
have
recommend.
no ads on Hulu,
Yeah,
it's like 14, $15.
yeah. By the way, if you're gonna get Hulu, it's so worth it to get ad free Hulu. Like I have never looked back because Hulu had a problem for a long time with playing the same ad multiple times in the same program. Like
Awful.
and sometimes they would even just do it back to back. It was upsetting. Like it would get very annoying, and I got to the point where I would like quote ads because I knew it was coming.
Mm.
And ad free Hulu was the best thing I did like in terms of that experience. And I think the show is definitely worth it. Like I think I always say Zelda is the most expensive game. Like Breath of the Wild is the most expensive game I
Ah,
ever bought because I spent $360 just to play it.
ah,
So, but I totally think it was worth it.
on the Switch.
Yeah, Nintendo. But this show I think is definitely worth 14 or
Getting Hulu.
$15 a month. Yeah, it was so good
And
so far.
I think the third season is coming
Like
along,
now,
like
or like
on
recent.
April, I
Yeah.
think. So
So perfect timing for us to start watching. I mean, you might not like it as much as I do, but I think
I
that
hope I do, honestly.
it's so good. Like my mom and my sister have been telling me for like years to watch it. Like because my mom watched it very soon after the
It
first season
was.
finished, so she could just
Uh-huh.
watch the whole thing. And because I think if I'm not mistaken,
Oh,
Hulu does week
it's
by week.
released weekly, right?
Yeah,
Oh, you're right.
which boo Hulu, don't do that. Give me it all. Like hopefully that's why they've taken so long. I feel like season two. Well, maybe it didn't actually. Maybe they still did weekly, and like
I'm
it
pretty sure
just
they do
ended like
weekly.
not too long ago. Like maybe it
Yeah,
ended
that's
like
the Hulu model because everything else on Hulu is like broadcaster usually. So yeah, I think that's their model, like separate, like differentiating them from Netflix.
I tried to watch. They had a show called The Path with um,
Aaron Paul?
Aaron Paul, yeah,
Yeah.
and that show was. I feel like it was their like second attempt at making Handmaid's Tale another like quality
Didn't
show.
Handmaid's Tale come after?
Did it?
I thought Handmaid's Tale was 2016,
I
and
think they might
The
be the.
Path is like 2014 or something, or 2015.
I feel like they might be the same year, but either way, I can't remember. But that show was not it, and the Handmaid's Tale is definitely it. Like, if
This
you want,
is it, Chief.
yep, this is it, Chief. This we can say it for Hulu. But yeah,
Cool.
other than that, I highly recommend it. For next week, we're thinking about watching a couple
Uh,
episodes of
Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy. So I always forget to like think of something I want you to watch. God.
Damn.
Yep. Um.
uh, I'll recommend you. Well, I'll want you to watch a movie for me. It's in Amazon Prime. It's
Okay.
called Bone Tomahawk, I think.
Oh my God, I've been waiting to watch that for so long. Actually, with Kurt Russell,
Yeah,
I've heard it's very, very gory. So I'm a little worried about that, but I'm
because you
excited.
don't like violence,
I
Dad.
I do not, but I mean I like westerns, so that should be a lot of fun. I've heard that movie's great. I think I'm going to ask you to watch that Netflix movie that just came out. It was the one with what is it called? Something like Russian Doll or
That's a
something.
series. Russian Doll.
Oh, it is a series.
It
Okay.
is a series.
Um,
I think Seth Rogen created it, or was it produced by him?
Interesting. Actually, you know what? No, you haven't seen the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, right?
I haven't.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to watch that because I am very curious about that because I'm not a huge Coen Brothers fan.
I am. So,
But
like knowing your likes, it'd be interesting discussing that
okay,
movie with you.
because this is a
Hot take.
more like a hot admission. I have not finished The Big Lebowski.
That's my favorite comedy of all time.
You see, yeah, I just you know, people. I felt like it was funny, but there's a part where this guy like he drew a thing on
Yeah.
a and then he like
Notepad.
yeah, and I watched that and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something else.
You were almost done with the movie.
Really?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
like just like 30 more minutes maybe,
Jeez. Okay. Well, I'm lazy.
if not under 30 minutes.
All right. So next week we are watching together
Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy, the first two episodes, and we're gonna be watching. You're gonna be watching the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
be
watching Bone Tomahawk.
dope. So I guess we'll see y'all guys later. Thanks so much.
Bye.